Welcome back, beautiful people, to another video, and today we are going to be playing Take Over the World Tycoon. As you can see, this is us, the United States of America. We are going to try to take over the entire world. Yeah, I know. We're going to be taking over the entire world, and we're going to do that easily. So we are going to take over the world. We are going to make Washington, D.C. the capital of the United States. Now that's the capital. Now, the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to start pushing into Canada and trying to take over the world. No, actually, we are not even going to be pushing in from Canada. We're going to be pushing in from another. We're literally going to be pushing in into Greenland. I don't think Greenland has like a strong military force. So we just immediately take Greenland. And Iceland has no military, which means we can easily just take it. Boom, that's ours now. We can start taking some of Norway. And even some little islands over here that Great Britain has. France doesn't have much of a military, but we're not going to be taking that one right now. Now that we have all of these islands, now we can start pushing into Canada. Canada has like basically no territory, has lots and lots and lots of these bigger islands, and we're going to start pushing in from the Greenland side, and even up there by the United States, by the mainland of the United States, we're going to start pushing in. We're starting to push in a little bit, and this is what we're doing. All right, Canada, I'm going to make a deal with you, Canada. If I destroy France's land, I get half of your territory. They deny. Okay. How about 1/4 of your territory? They accept. We just took France's land. Now you guys have to give us at least 1/4 of your territory, which would be all of this right here. So yeah, you gotta give us all this. I mean, Canada, you literally gave it up, though. You gave it up. You gave up your territory, Canada. Now we're just gonna keep. Now we have war with them, which means we're just gonna start pushing into their territory even more, and even more from down here too. Boom, 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 boom. We're starting to push into Canada. Boom. And boom, this area is Canada's gone. You're gone. You're gone. You're gone. Boom, like Canada's getting destroyed. Literally, Canada's getting destroyed. Now we're going to start pushing in from Alaska. We are literally pushing in from Alaska. Boom, Alaska just took all that territory, which is a part of the United States. Boom. 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 Oh my goodness. It's just down to this. It's literally just down to this. It's genuinely just down to this. And Canada just got wiped out. Canada destroyed. Now we own all of this territory. Like, look how much we own now. Our next target would be another person. So now we're going to go to our next target. Our next target, they think it's going to be Mexico. It's not going to be Mexico. We're going to be destroying this island right here that is owned by the United Kingdom. And it's awesome. Next, we're going to destroy and take the Bahamas and Cuba. Cuba would put off a fight, which means we're not going to be able to take all of its territory yet, which means we go after Jamaica, which would fall into our hands, and then some islands of the United Kingdom, and even destroy Haiti and parts of the Dominican Republic. And it would fall. Then we'd take Puerto Rico, and we'd also take the United States. Then we'd just literally take all these islands. We'd take all of these to be ours. All these small islands. Boom. Oh, and then we'd absolutely demolish Cuba. Now our next target, they would think it would be Mexico. It's not. I'm going to surround Mexico. And we're going to start attacking Belize and Guatemala. Guatemala will be destroyed immediately. And I'm going to take Honduras and And we'd start pushing into Colombia. Colombia would be too big and it would be massive. And it'd be really, really hard to push. Then we would take Ecuador. We would take parts of Ecuador. Pushing into Ecuador. Ecuador would actually and would not have that help with any other countries because they would be here to fall in the U.S. hands. Now that's how much we own. Mexico is going to be our next target right after we get destroyed Colombia. Colombia would put off a good fight. But with Brazil being its ally, Brazil does not want the U.S. touching borders with Brazil. Because Brazil and the U.S. do not like each other. So that's why Brazil is sending most of its troops to Colombia to help. Little they know, we're going to attack Venezuela, who would put off a big fight, but we would absolutely dominate and keep pushing into Venezuela, especially with those islands. And then Brazil would be touching borders with the U.S., which would not be good because, you know why? They would think that we'd be our next target. No, we just want to surround them. We're just going to be taking all the neighboring countries of them. We'll be taking all the neighboring countries. Not attacking Brazil yet. Colombia would still get help from Brazil, but it wouldn't be enough, and they'd absolutely fall. They know that Peru would be the next target. It would not, actually. Now having enough forces, they would go attack Mexico. Mexico would not see this attack coming because they would think that they would go for Brazil. Brazil would send some of its troops to Mexico to help, but it wouldn't be. However, the Brazilian troops would have to pass through U.S. territory, and it wouldn't be enough. It would take them a lot. It would take them about 3 days to try to get into Mexico. It would literally take them 3 days to get into Mexico. And with the U.S. absolutely having so many forces, which would be dominating Mexico so far. So far, the U.S. is making good progress. And with Brazilian troops finally arriving there, they would stand their ground. Mexico would have no choice but to surrender to the United States, getting destroyed. And little Mexico would be demolished. Now we would have the entire North America and parts of South America. Now they would think our next target would be Peru. It's not going to be. Actually, they're going to make a treaty. They're not going to make a treaty. Right now, they're going to go, and they're going to go to the other side of the world. The U.S. would go to the other side of the world, and they would make a deal with China. They would make a deal with China, even though that they are allies with some of these countries. They would give China Taiwan for half of their territory. They would accept. China would take over Taiwan. China would take over Taiwan, but as promised, half of territory would be split in half. Some U.S. territory, some Chinese territory. China would not see this coming, but they would let the U.S. pick what side they wanted, and that would not be good for China because Taiwan was on the one side that they wanted. It would not be enough, and the U.S. would take all of that territory near Taiwan. And even half of the territory. But the U.S. would not have made a good choice because they would be neighboring borders with Russia, one of their biggest enemies. But you know, with half of China's land, they're kind of doing real good right now. Oh yes, and they would also be neighboring borders with North Korea, which would not be good. But it would be the United States' land. And they would also have South Korea on their back. However, it would not be enough. China would ask for them to take out India next, for half of their territory, and for China almost falling into U.S. hands. But for half of the territory, they would destroy India. They would destroy India for 1/4 of China's territory, or the rest of China's territory, but one sliver of land. They would accept. India would start falling into U.S. control. Even some ally countries. They would form an alliance with Bangladesh to take down India and all of their neighboring countries. They would form an alliance with Pakistan. They would form an alliance with Nepal. They would Shaka and Madhavis to start taking down India into U.S. territory. They would help. All of the neighboring countries would help. Even little China would try to help. Little China, who lost so much territory to the U.S., would even help take away parts of India. It would absolutely work. Their plan would have worked. They would destroy India into U.S. control. However, things would not go good. They would attack Nepal and even Bangladesh, taking Bangladesh into their own territory. As promised, they would have 1/4 of China. They would have the rest of China's territory, except for one tiny sliver of land. Now, having lots and lots of neighboring countries, they would finally take down Pakistan. They would finally try to take down Pakistan. China would try to help. They would make a big mistake, absolutely getting most of their territory dominated. With a little sliver left inside the United States, they would give all of the rest of their military to Pakistan. Even though Pakistan would have fallen, China would be dead. China would be dead. Then they would attack all of the countries that helped them in the war with India. They would even attack more of the United Kingdom. Having lots and lots of territory over there, what they would do next is that it would be shocked. They would not attack Russia, but they would attack another country that hates. They would attack North Korea. With the help of South Korea and even Japan, they would take down North Korea into their territory. South Korea would be the next target. They would not take South Korea yet. They would go for Japan. However, they would need some of Russia's territory. So they would do the unthinkable. They would form an alliance with Russia, offering that Russia would offer them half of territory to take down Japan, South Korea, Mongolia, and Kazakhstan. They would offer them half the territory. The U.S. would accept, because half of Russia's territory would be big. Without the help of Russia, Japan would fall into U.S. control, taking most of Japan. And most of their islands. South Korea would get worried because they would get most of their help from Japan. However, the U.S. would do something absolutely demolishing South Korea. Just for some extra military forces. Now, their next target would be this country. They're absolutely destroying it. Because now they have a big neighboring border with Russia. However, this would not be good for Russia. Because if they attack one more country and successfully defeated it, that would mean that they would have to give the U.S. half of their territory. But absolutely destroying Kazakhstan, absolutely demolishing it into their territory, and even destroying one other country that Russia said to destroy. Even attacking one other country that they were asked to be destroyed would be this blue country right here, absolutely falling into U.S. control. Falling into U.S. control, Russia would have to give up half of their territory, which would not be good, because then they would no longer be the biggest country in the world. The United States would be the biggest country in the world. Giving up half of their territory, their borders would be split in half. Seeing that happen, Russia would say to take all of this territory so that they would still have Taiwan or Ukraine. Now the U.S. would take half of Russia's territory, making it the biggest country in the world and one of the most powerful. One of the most powerful countries in the world. The United States would be the biggest and most powerful country country in the world. They could take any country that they wanted to. With the help from Russia and all of their military forces, they would be the most powerful country in the world. This would not look good for Russia because they would have a neighboring border with the United States. However, they would choose not to attack. They would choose to stay neutral and not attack. Russia would thank them, but they would not see what was coming next. Russia offered them more territory if they defeated Ukraine with them. The US would accept because they would need so much territory right now. They would start demolishing Ukraine from Russia's territory. However, Ukraine would hold off a good fight with the US not helping them. The US not helping, only the United Kingdom would be helping them now. But it would be too late. It would be demolished by the US. The United States would take all of Ukraine, turning it into their own territory, and they would be taking parts of Russia now. And they would even have parts of Russia now, too. They would have another fourth of Russia, cutting the borders in half. Cutting the borders in half again. The United States would be the biggest country in the world for sure now. Russia would absolutely not like this. Russia would make one final offer for the rest of its territory. For the rest of its territory, even though that they would not be an independent nation anymore. They would ask for one more thing from the United States. Obviously, the United States would ask, what is it? They would say, I will give you the rest of my territory if you help me defeat Norway and the United Kingdom. They would accept, that they would have to go through Finland first. Finland would have not the biggest military. Also, Russia would be behind them, so Finland would absolutely fall in the US control. Now the next target would be Norway. Norway, not having the biggest military in the world, would absolutely destroy. They would get destroyed. Norway being destroyed, and even taking the islands of Norway too. Russia would say, alright, what about the United Kingdom? They would have to form a stronger military, and they would have to attack Sweden. Attacking Sweden would give them a bigger and stronger military to absolutely destroy them. Alright, destroying that would give them a stronger military to destroy the United States. They would also take Denmark into their territory. They would destroy Denmark and put them into US territory. The next target would be the United Kingdom. Having the help from Ireland, it would fall into US control. It would fall into United States control, taking all of the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom would put off a good fight, but it would not be enough to secure the borders with them. They were not going to attack the islands of the United Kingdom. They will go on their way. Then they would attack Ireland. Here's the thing though, now Russia has to give them the rest of their territory. The Russia would finally accept and would not give them the rest of their territory. Furious, the US would attack Russia, taking the rest of its territory into US control. Russia would put off a good fight, but not having most of their military because of the US taking most of their territory. Not having lots of their territory and military would lead to Russia's downfall. Absolutely destroying Russia would be the key to successfulness. Russia would absolutely die out of the darkness. overtake the rest of the world. It would not be very, very hard. It would not be that hard to take the rest of the world, thanks to Russia's territory and even its military power. Thanking Russia, they would keep little bits of land here and there of Russia's territory. Just kidding. They would take all of the territory, demolishing Russia. Russia would refuse, would have no chance, and absolutely be demolished. The United States would no longer be the United States, would be the United Empire. However, their next attack would not be up here. They would not be here. It would be in South America. They would finally have the strongest military in the world. They would take some of Portugal. They would have a strong military to take out Brazil, but they would take all of the neighboring countries first. As easy as heck to take Peru, even with Brazil's strong military forces. Brazil would have no chance because of Peru's downfall. All of the neighboring countries would put in some help to keep Brazil alive. They're one of their biggest countries. The only country that would not help would be Argentina. Seeing this, the United States would form an alliance with Argentina and to start attacking Brazil. They would have to attack all the neighboring countries. Paraguay, Bolivia, and some Chile. Now with the help of Argentina, the United States would start taking Brazil's territory. Seeing this happen, Brazil would be fierce, try to hold off the United States, but with Argentina, they would just lead into their downfall. But the U.S. would have a sneaky plan up their sleeve. Once Argentina would be gone, then the United States would destroy Argentina with the help of some other Brazil would lead in the downfall of Brazil. Brazil absolutely getting destroyed. Brazil would fall into U.S. territory. Brazil would fall into U.S. territory. Argentina would be happy about this, although they would not see what would be happening. Uruguay and Chile would then fly into the United States to absolutely take away Argentina. Argentina would be fierce about it though. Chile would back down away, so would Uruguay. But the United States forcing to take Uruguay then, because they would not back up the United States. Chile would also not help the United States to take away Argentina. It would be the closest neighbor. They would have to attack two forces. Having Argentina be destroyed, Chile would not be much of a problem, but they would attack Chile first to get more territory around Argentina. Then they would attack the islands of the United States in the middle of nowhere. And then Argentina would be absolutely destroyed. Leading the downfall of Argentina. Now having most of the world on there, they would finally attack the Antarctica. Having the United States take lots and lots of Antarctica. Antarctica would have no choice but to surrender to the United Kingdom, to the United States, leading in the downfall. The United States would go in to attack getting time to go. They would still have lots and lots of countries left in Africa to destroy. Then they would do the unthinkable and start attacking random islands in the ocean. And with no military force on it, destroy it. Next they would attack New Zealand, getting a good border around Australia. With Australia having basically no military force, with Great Britain, with the United Kingdom helping them, it would be too late, because the United Kingdom would be dead. United Kingdom, but some small little islands that have no military base on them. The United States would take all of and they would start attacking all the other small islands out there. All the smaller islands finally taken, they would finally attack the most country that they would want to attack for a long enough. They would finally attack the Philippines. The Philippines having a strong military. The Philippines would try to hold off to the United States. They would be having a chance. The Philippines would fall under U.S. control. Then they would attack Indonesia, taking lots of Indonesia. Taking all of the territory would just be a part of the plan. Because in exactly 18 months of the launch, a nuclear bomb on the rest of the world. Then they would take lots, and they would take the rest of Asia. Not even the rest of the countries would not have a chance. After what they have seen, most of the country would surrender to the United States, and even some countries that have not, they regret it, because they would fall under U.S. control. Losing millions and millions of people. They would finally attack Africa, the one that they have not attacked yet, after they take the rest of Asia. Russia. But first they would attack the rest of Russia that gained independence. They would just keep attacking until the entire world would be destroyed. And this is how the United States would just keep taking all the territories until the end. next target will be Turkey. Look at how much territory the United States will take. We're taking so much territory. Find out what happens in the next video. Thank you all for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, click the red subscribe button. And peace.